the Governorship Election Tribunal issued a remote judgment purporting to cancel the mandate given to us by the good people of Kano State. We assembled a team of lawyers that filed appeals and requested the appellate court to set aside the judgment of the tribunal for lacking in merit. Unfortunately, the Court of Appeal has today delivered another miscarriage of justice on the flimsy ground that the APC is contesting my membership of the NNPP, despite the overwhelming evidence presented before the courts about the genuineness of my membership. I want to inform the good people of Kano State, and indeed all well-meaning Nigerians, that based on the consensus of our stakeholders, we have instructed our lawyers to commence the process of appealing this judgment at the Supreme Court of Nigeria. We are optimistic that the Supreme Court will, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, set aside these miscarriages of justice by the tribunal and the appeal court, and reaffirm our mandate given to us by the good people of Kano State. I therefore want to urge all the good people of Kano State to continue to go about their legitimate businesses unimpeded, as government has taken all necessary measures to ensure the security of lives and properties in the state. I want to assure you that this temporary setback will not deter us from continuing with all our projects and programs targeted at restoring the lost glory of our state. We shall continue to roll out more projects and programs to better the lots of the good people of our state. Fellow citizens of Kano State, in conclusion, I want to urge all well-meaning Nigerians to pray for Kano State and beseech Almighty Allah in His wisdom and mercy to save the state from injustice of mischief makers who are desperately scheming to hijack power through the back door and return the state to dark ages. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow this to happen. Thank you all, and God bless Kano State. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Where the Court of Appeal in Abuja has affirmed the tribunal decision that declared Nasiru Gawuna of All Progressives Congress winner of the Kano State governorship election. The same tribunal, in its judgment on September 20th, 2023, sacked the INEC declared winner of the election, Abba Yusuf of New Nigeria People's Party, by declaring 165,663 of his votes invalid because, according to it, the ballot papers were not signed or stamped by INEC. Now, in today's ruling of the appeal court, the three-member panel held that Abba Yusuf wasn't qualified to run for governor in the first place, as he wasn't a registered member of the NNPP when the election was held. Well, Arise judicial correspondent Godfrey Ishomoge joins us now from the venue of the appeal court ruling for an update. Good day, Godwin. Warm welcome to Newsday. What is your take on these developments? Is this a shocker or was this an expected outcome?
Well, Vimba, it's been an eventful day. First of all, accessing the courtroom, accessing the court premises was an uphill task. The crowd you can see behind me is just clearing. A lot of party supporters from Kano across the country were here. You could see vehicles packed, and then the army of supporters right behind me. That shows you the kind of following that trailed this particular judgment. So it was a kind of a shocker, so to speak, because it affirmed the election of the decision of the tribunal, that's of September 20, which declared Nasiru Gawuna of the APC as the governor, duly elected governor of Kano State, sacking Abba Yusuf of NNPP, that's the New Nigeria People's Party. That was the person who was elected in the March 18 governorship election. So the twist to today's judgment is that the court said Abba Yusuf wasn't even qualified to run for governor in the first place, stating that he was not a member of the NNPP at the time that the party sponsored him to run for the post. This was a ruling on a cross appeal by the party, the All Progressives Congress, and its governorship candidate, Nasiru Gawuna, who said he winning the election and being declared winner was unjustified because he was a stranger to the party, which whose flag he took to run for the post. So as it is, Nasiru Gawuna, for now, is the governor of Kano State. Of course, you know, the matter will go to the higher court, that's the Supreme Court, for the last lap of this, judicial or legal tussle.
Right, and as you pointed out, an army, so to speak, came from Kano to support the candidate of the NNPP. What was the reaction? What's the mood currently with, all the supporters rallying around Abba Yusuf?
It's a somber mood. In fact, you just noticed the silence. It was very loud. The silence in court on the part of the NNPP supporters. You can see them dressed in red caps. Those are the NNPP. That was their trademark way of dressing. They were just silent. It's like people losing in a World Cup final. That's the best way you can describe the mood here on the part of the New Nigeria People's Party and the Abba Yusuf camp following the decision of the court. And then on the other side, the APC candidate, there was a huge cry of celebration in the courtroom. The judges, three-member judges panel had to call them to order to remind them that they were in court and not in a political party rally. So that is the move. It's a tale of two experiences right now. The APC are celebrating while the NNPP, as it is using the popular term, licking their wounds following the decision of the appellate court today.
Help us explore the remaining angles to the story. I'm joined now in the studio by the policy strategist, political commentator, and group CEO of the global investment and trade company Baba Yusuf, who is from Kano State. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Pleasure to be here, Charles.
How much of a shock is this appeal court decision sacking Abba Yusuf and affirming Nasiru Gawuna as the governor of Kano State? I mean, bearing in mind that the tribunal had already made a decision in favor of Mr. Gawuna.
Well, to be honest, there's not much of a shock if you ask me as a person, but it's a shock to many in Kano State because of the high level of expectations and high level of, if you like, love for the NNPP by the adherents of the NNPP, and of course also the high level of love for the APC by the adherents of both parties. So there was high tension in terms of expectation, and then when the ruling came out today, family and friends, even as I was coming here, I was speaking to family. People are downcast while others are excited. The good thing is, just like your correspondent mentioned, very, very good positive outcome is the calmness of the situation. People are taking things in their strides, albeit they are not happy, believing that there's one line of action to take on the part of NNPP. And on the part of APC, there's a glimmer of hope that, look, we are now going to take over, leadership in Kano. If you come to me, there's no much of a surprise, because if you study the ruling of the tribunal, Charles, and you look at it vis-a-vis what the outcomes come at the appeal court, I will say this particular 2023 election, to my mind, is a case study. It's like a class, master class for politicians and for citizens. I will expect, more polished outcomes in 2027. Why am I saying so? The judiciary happens now to be the one declaring, results rather than INEC.
Right.
But then while that is happening, people are learning hard lessons. Now we have a situation like in Kano, a boundary between reason and logic. People that believe they have voted for a populist platform and believe rightly so in their own context they have won elections are now coming to get a rude awakening, that actually there's an issue, fundamental. And for the governor of Kano State also to get, to know this as political actors, that just going through the mechanics of politicking and elections is not the issue. You have to also put your house in order and do your homework to win litigation, to win elections. Oversights and errors of commission and commission can be very, very costly. What am I saying? If you look at one of the key reasons, the breach of section 177 sub C of the Constitution, if I may read, says, I'll just go there and say he has to be a member of a political party.
Well, I was going to bring that up because yes, the court suggested that Mr. Yusuf wasn't even qualified to run in the first place. I mean, what do you make of that suggestion that the governor was not a member of the NNPP when the election was held?
Now, that goes to that critical fundamental issue, which becomes an irony for the NNPP. Now we are speaking reality, not emotions, not sentiments. We are speaking law and reality.
Yes, of course.
And if I may complete, section 177 sub C says, he, that is the candidate, okay, a person shall be qualified for election, then C says, if he is a member of a political party, and that the party has to sponsor that candidate. Right. Now, the outcome of the matter is, it goes further. If you listen to the judgment ruling today, and they said his name was not found, that is the governor, the appellant, his name was not found in 3 volumes of the membership register of the NNPP that were tendered before the court, Charles. His names were not there. His name was not there. Right? And then moving on, he went to say, if I may read again, that he, the appellant, as an appellant, did not depose to the affidavit that was front-loaded. You understand? He relied on an affidavit that was deposed by another person to prove that he is the bona fide member of the political party. Now, this is a costly mistake.
It's beyond a costly mistake. It sounds like complete and utter ineptitude.
Absolutely. Now, for the adherents that are out there, either no knowledge of the law or the facts before the court will seem to be, there's a procurement of judgment,
yes,
there's injustice.
Yeah,
if we want Nigeria to move forward, we need to be
right,
very practical and tell ourselves the honest truth so that moving forward, don't make these mistakes. Now, complacency for many political actors. The moment you win elections, you get laid back, you get complacent, and then your image, your vision becomes blurred. Now, these are fundamental. How could you, as an appellant, and I'm being emphatic now because there's a ruling at the tribunal stage, first court of instance, and now at the last court of instance, in this case, an appeal court, saying that the appellant relied on the affidavit deposed by another person. This is an enlightened, educated person. How did that happen? And then moving further to say in the entire document front-loaded.
They had lawyers.
Now, I want to get back to this. I want to remind us,
right,
Charles, this is section 177 sub C of the 1999 Constitution. So this is a constitutional requirement, not even an electoral act requirement. So even though one may say it's a pre-election matter, when I got the gist of the issue, I now said, wow, this is a fundamental issue. And it is on this premise, if you notice the total, the focal point of the judgment was no longer on the counting of the ballots, whether they were signed by INEC or not, but on this fundamental constitutional defect. Provision, the unavailability of the breach of this constitutional provision that the Court of Appeal heavily relied on, and
Yes.
they were they sort of indirectly reprimanded the appellant for such a mishap.
Well, I mean, it just sounds abysmal.
So I consider it a self-inflicted injury,
But
Charles.
it has to be, to be seen that way. But,
Yeah.
but what I'm wondering is that, I mean, you, and pardon my presumptuousness, but you, I understand, have a lot of chums in the NNPP and so on. And quite a lot of them, I mean, we've had them here, are very well educated. I mean, what are they saying about this?
To be honest, I'm from Kano and I have friends across party lines, APC, NNPP. And to be honest, majority of the adherents of the NNPP are still living on that virtual reality of they won election, the elections were robbed of them.
Right.
But I have to tell my brothers and sisters the honest truth. I am not a member of the APC, neither am I a member of the NNPP. Of course, I have political antecedents, and as a Nigerian, I have my leanings. But in this particular matter, we are for the betterment of the polity, of the progress of Kano State and Nigeria. And I say, you know what? You need to speak to the issues. One, so that you face your reality, and guide your expectations, manage your expectations, and going forward as political actors, not just in the case of Kanu. You see what happened in the case of the presidential elections and the outcomes. You see it all over. People will learn lessons and fine-tune their strategies moving forward. Because when we go further into the conversations, it may also not yet be uhuru for the APC, you know, for Excellency Nasrugan when he becomes governor. Because peradventure, at the Supreme Court, he sails through. We can do scenario conversation. What if scenarios, if he goes through, or if NNPP is able to. This does not, by the way, shut down NNPC. They still have one layer of the apex court. I don't have the locus to declare that. But experience shows, precedent shows, the outcome of the presidential election, you know, at Supreme, we saw the outcome. And those should guide our thoughts and expectations with regard to how it plays out. However, the final decision remains with the court, apex court of the country, you know. But then there is still what I call game on after the Supreme Court elections. We may discuss that if you want.
Well, I mean, you put this very clearly and very interestingly. And I'm wondering, in the context of the analysis you've just given us, which is quite thorough, whether you think, because it just suggests political immaturity, certainly legal immaturity on the part of not just the NNPP, but a lot of the other parties that were ascendant in 2023. Does that suggest that the APC is more experienced in terms of these kinds of things? Because on the national level, the presidential election, I mean, they smoked everything all the way through. I mean, and then you come to core areas like, I mean, everybody automatically assigned Kano to the NNPP.
Absolutely.
So this is quite extraordinary in terms of the fact that such a fundamental, and as the word you used was costly, mistake took place. I mean, is it your sense that the APC has more experience in these things? Because I remember one of the legal advisors of the APC coming to sit where you were sitting when things were heading to the Supreme Court, and he just said, look, these people don't understand how the thing works. You know, we've filed all our papers correctly. Absolutely. We're going to get the best out of this, and these guys can go on social media or on television and bleat on about whatever it is they think they're going to achieve, but it's not going to get them anywhere.
I will answer that from two perspectives. And thank you very much, because it's a question that we all need to speak to, even after this program. Thank you. It's an agenda setting question. First of all, I need to, you know, tongue lash a little bit INEC, because they are principally killing the expectation of people. What am I saying? This fundamental defect could have been dealt with at that level of due diligence, of process.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, to act either verify, confirm, and proceed, or otherwise. And you allow this matter to come to court, first layer, second layer, or third layer, as the case may be, to deal with an issue that has to do with your principal function as an electoral umpire. And this has been a recurring decimal. of requirement of INEC to really deal with keeping their house in order, not, allowing things like this to come up. That being said, of course, INEC is also not supposed to come and sit in the exam hall and write scripts for these principal players during their exam.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? But there is a lot of things since you said about APC. Now, what APC has done right from 2014, and people can take it or leave it, in strategy, recognizing your reality is the beginning of success, of charting the course to success, whatever it is, in business, in military warfare, whatever it is, in politics. And that is what APC has done. The likes of the leadership of Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, while you are ranting on social media or you are being sentimental and emotional, people are looking at the details, distilling the issues, speaking to the issues,
very coldly, calculatingly practical.
And delivering. Because you know what? Performance is measured by results, outcomes, not by events.
I mean, never mind the fact that, of course, allegations are swirling all over the place
and it's all
about
all over the place.
Improprieties.
Absolutely. But then again, if I am going to battle, I remember I wrote in a column October last year, if you're going to battle with war-tested generals that have scars of wars over them, all over them, and you're going to war, you need to be prepared. And you don't need to take chances to say, hey, we're on high sea fighting the battle on the ship, and you remember you have a critical warfare armament you've left at home. This is classic example of the opposition parties. With due respect to them, you jumble them together. You hear narratives now after the fact. Opposition come and say, oh, you need to get together. Oh, hello. You just realize now you need to put this in context. You need to strategize. You need to expand your vision. You need to be detailed, focused, determined, and speaking to the issues. Politics is a game of numbers, and in law, that is why the icon of law is blind. You can't go to the court with sentiments. Now look at this fundamental issue. What would you like the judge to say?
Absolutely.
I was privileged to read the memoirs or interview of the Federal President Court of Appeal, His Honorable Justice Abdullah Omar, that was having conversations about outcomes of elections where they had to, give a declaration of a presidential election. And he said, yes, I am a brother. We grew up together with the former president in the same class, but I cannot just, dash him judgment.
Absolutely.
And then again, the lawyers, the choice of the lawyers by the appellants or the defendants, the litigants in this case, and also the decision to take matters by lawyers to choose cases is another issue with regards to professionalism and strategy in the kind of
very interesting analysis. But let me, because we've got like a couple of minutes left. You talked about that very important aspect of their costly mistake at the court. But there is also, I'm wondering how controversial the decision, which was also taken by the tribunal in September, declaring that more than 165,000 of Abba Yusuf's votes were invalid because the ballot papers were not signed or stamped by INEC. I mean, what happened there?
That goes back to what I was saying, berating INEC. Every step of the way of our litigation processes, it's like an appraisal issue for INEC, all the way. Strategy, operations, process, integrity, all the way. Technology. If you do an appraisal, there's an issue that are fundamental, that shouldn't happen. If you do a comparative analysis, the 2023 elections with 2015 elections, they are far apart.
Yeah, but that was INEC's fault, was it?
This is, of course,
because I remember the NNPP people complained about it.
If INEC didn't sign, and we have a court, I mean, people going to court to say they are invalidating this because INEC didn't sign. And INEC is actually joining a matter. First of all, how did you allow that to happen?
Yeah.
And then secondly, what do you have to say? Because I don't hear INEC saying anything with regards to these issues. We need to come with an explanation. Otherwise, in other climes, these are critical issues, not just for Mr. President, for everybody, with regards to the evolution of our political process going forward. You can't have the kind of money we appropriate for an election process
and then have this level of this hopeless,
absolutely,
I mean, hopeless incompetence.
It's unacceptable. And I feel that going forward, we should be able to eyeball these issues, deal with them so that they don't reoccur again. In the case of the NNPP adherents, they can now see clearly where the issues are
Yeah.
and deal with them, and for the political gladiators also to see where they made strategic mistakes and correct them going forward.